AI is a sound of horror despair for the creative, talented, yet jobless generation, but can it make its way to game industry? While AI cannot spawn video games right out of its ass, I am going to use AI to create every single element to create a complete video game. Starting with the idea. I asked AI for a game idea and it gave me this. Pixel Quest, Kingdom of Lost Colors, which sounds kinda cringe, but reading the detail, I think it's kind of promising. It's a pixelated RPG game in a fantasy world, and the player embarks on a quest to restore color to a grayscale world. Collect pixel art artifacts, battle monochromatic monster, uncover the truth behind the fading of colors. So how do I use AI to turn this into a video game? Well, the first thing I do is creating the character design using Chat GPT. I also made a villain which has a questionable stick on its underwear. I also used it for some concept art of the game world. Now, since I can't use AI to turn this into 3D, I'm going to use 3D modeling tool. Because I'm not making a 2D game, that's too boring. For this, I started with Magica Voxel. It's a free tool and lets me make pixelated stuff just like Minecraft. It also has its built-in renderer. Now, it's time to animate them. For animation, I'm gonna use Mixamo. For some reason though, Mixamo was not supporting the OBJ file properly, so I had to use Blender and then import them and then export them as FBX files. Once I added walking animation, fighting animation, and death animation for all of these characters, I went to Unity. My initial plot is that the character suddenly wakes up in a grayscale world and then investigate and then find a monster to slay it. So I used Blender to make a pixelated bedroom. But it doesn't look very pixelated, so what I did was create a shader that makes game look pixelated. While there are many good ways to make a pixelated shader, I decided to use Chat GPT and see how it makes pixelated shaders. What it made was pretty simple and wasn't so good, but I guess it works for the game now. I also tried to add some black outlines to the models, just so it can look more cartoonish. Now it's time for the character to go outside the house. For this, I made the door activate another object that lets you know that you have to press E to go outside the door when the player touches the collider of the door using on-trigger enter. For this, of course, I used ChatGPT to make the code. I did the same thing with the gate of the village and all the other gates in the game. I also had to make the NPCs move a little, but that didn't require any coding. Now it's time for the open world. So I decided to make the world just like in the concept art made by the AI. I added some mountains, some pixelated grass, some trees, and also the flying castle in the sky and the little dragon, although it doesn't look very good. Okay, now it's time for the enemies. Of course, in a video game, you can't just fight your boss instantly, so we need some group, meaning weak enemies. I put the enemies with their animations. I started with idle animation and then used ChatGPT to make the enemy controller, which make the enemy models follow me around and also trigger ease attack and ease walk when it's walking and when it's attacking. I also added a death script using ChatGPT, which kinda makes the enemy die and cause an explosion every time it's touched by the brush, which is our weapon. Since ChatGPT is unable to make something too complicated, I used the simple on-trigger enter again. I also made a semi-boss, which is a giant group and is hard to kill. Then I made sure that once you reach a certain checkpoint, you find some coins or artifact which you can absorb and bring back some colors to the world. But of course, we have to kill our actual villain in order to restore all the colors. And to get to the villain, we need to go to the huge castle, which is taken over by the villain. So I decided to start making the castle. For the castle, I used Blender again, and for the design, I used ChatGPT, and every textures used in these models are also from ChatGPT. I also added some warm lights and also used emitters on each windows in order to make them light up. Unfortunately, the images did not work once I import them into Unity, so I had to use the images again. I also put some simple animation for the door that reveals the villain. Once you fight it off, you get the crown, which was stolen by this person according to the plot, which I'm gonna get to pretty soon. Now of course every pixel game is supposed to be 3D. Now since it is 3D, I decided to make the cutscenes made in 2D, so I started to animate them. Okay, now that we're done with cutscene, it's time for the audio of the game. Of course, we need good audio for a video game, and for that, we're going to open Game Art and selecting CCO, which lets us have copyright-free sound which we can use as well. I got the evil laugh sound, the fighting sound, the game music, every single thing. I also decided to use some AI tool to make some music, but I'm not sure if I should show them in the video. As for the last task, I decided to add an elevator that teleports you on the mountain, and I also decided to add some water using low poly water shader, and a red glider so the character can get down the mountain.